G'day, Mick again. Alright, we're going to have a chat about blue-cap waxbills. And for a while there I kept the red-cheek Cordon-bleu, which is very closely related, same family, but this bird is a jewel of all the bird keepers in Australia. Well, it's one of them. The blue caps, in their range, they're found in, if you know the continent of Africa, the Horn on the right hand side. So the blue cap waxbill is sort of on the east coast of Africa, and you can see there where I'm pulling bits of the twigs away from in its range. So it spreads through sort of Somalia, Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, a large population Ethiopia, South Sudan, further inland, and Tanzania below. It's on the edge of the Sahara Desert. It's a desert bird. It lives in the acacia, like thorny bushes to build its nests in. It likes sparse grassy areas on the edge of forest. It has encroached in some sort of villages and in population areas where it's been cleared and there's pasture or there's crops. You'll find the blue caps along the edges of that. As you can imagine, Ethiopia, those sort of countries, it's very dry. They're a desert bird, so they don't like moisture. A bit like the painted finches, no moisture and protection from cold, wet wind. You'll have no blue caps if they're exposed to that. If you're in cold, wet areas, even if you can avoid, they won't deal well with cold, wet environment. They'll fall out. Most of the year, pretty simple diet. Dry seed throughout most of the year. And like most of the year, even like the Australian finches, the African waxbills, their breeding season, the blue caps, even in the Cordon-bleus, normally January onwards after the rains. So once the rains come through and then there's plenty of live food, plenty of green seeds, blue caps will nest them because they have a very high insect requirement. Blue caps, you're almost dreaming if you want to breed blue caps and you don't have a constant supply of live food. Ideally, termites, I've had the best results with those, and everyone's told me I'm wasting my time if I'm not using that. I've had them toss chicks if they miss their morning feed. I get home in the afternoon because I have a full-time job. Sometimes I get up, it's too early, I leave for work, it's still dark. I get home and they've literally dropped their chicks in the seed dish to remind me of where's the live food. So they will just toss their chicks that don't have enough live food. Sorry about the guinea fowl. Like I said, in the wild, it's dry, arid area. So in captivity, you're going to try and do your best to replicate that. So a lot of people, overseas where it's cold and you have snow, you have your blue caps inside. You wouldn't have them anywhere outside in the cold. Anything below, I think it's 17, 18 degrees Celsius. It was 36, 60, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything below that, you're going to have problems with your blue caps. I've found the red-cheek Cordon-bleus are a little bit tougher, in captivity. And I found the hen blue caps are quite soft. If she's not protected from the cold, wet wind, if there's a breeze, they have to be protected, as much as you can, and warm. Otherwise, you're not going to have the best results with blue caps. They are a desert finch. And having said that, of course, so feeding them, in the wild, it's a lot of work to find seed. And in captivity, once again, they've got seed on tap. But during the year, when it's outside the breeding season, where in the wild, they'd just be existing until the rains come, just a dry seed. And, you'll do all right with them. So in captivity, probably around December, you start introducing live food just to get them sort of primed up, and get them all sort of excited. And then when their breeding season normally kicks in, like I said, January, February, March onwards, through most of the year, if the conditions are right. But in the wild, same thing, after the rains. So, breeding them, I've been lucky enough. I had them years and years ago. I never had a chance to breed them. I had a pair and they're such a beautiful bird. The male, his head and his chest is like a sky blue. He's just magical. The hen is a bit duller. They got like a pinkish brown belly, a blue tail, like a fawny brown back. On the hen, that brown comes up, you know, to the top of her crown, whereas on the male, it's a solid blue head. And in the sunshine, you just think, holy! Everyone points out, what's that bird? You know, it's just striking. But so breeding them, all of mine nest, they build their own nest. I've never had one use half-open nest boxes or anything like that. The male will sort of find like what he thinks is a suitable nest site. He'll call and carry on, and if the hen likes it, they'll sit around for a bit. They'll sort of like, you know, think about what they're doing, and if she's happy, she'll sit there. He'll fly away, come back with the first piece of grass, you know, and then away they go. Nesting material, just the finer grasses. They use the dried seed heads a lot. You know, like a lot of the mannequins and the other African waxbills, they love using, you know, the stalks and the seed heads and all that sort of thing for their nest. They'll construct a platform, they'll build a nest, they'll line that with softer grasses, and they love using white feathers, as most waxbills do. So I'll offer them white feathers. The incubation is pretty quick. Like I said, they're a desert bird, and it's probably one of the fastest I've seen as far as incubation and you know, fledging. So, you know, between 12 and 14 days, those eggs will hatch. Between 3 and 6 eggs, you know, both in captivity and the wild. That's, you know, they're gonna try and raise as many chicks as they can, working things all right, of course. So the parents, they both incubate during the day. They have shifts during the day, and some of the shifts are quite quick. I've watched them, and it's literally half an hour, and they're changing shift. You know, sometimes it's an hour. The male will sleep outside the nest at night, and the hen will sit on the eggs during the night. They're tight sitter. You can move around the aviary and you won't flush the birds. They're a tight sitter, but they don't like inspection. So don't go poking around and having a look. You know, that's a fine line. My personal experience with the blue cap waxbill has been a mixture of heartbreak and triumph. So I've actually managed to breed them, and that was triumphant. But in the meantime, I've gone through about 3 pairs. The first 2 pairs I got, you know, I went hard with my uncle. We bought a couple of pairs, and my hen died within a month, as I was warned probably would. And his pair had to go at breeding, and then his hen died, so we were stuck with 2 males. I managed to then buy another pair, and I managed to breed them. Everyone said to me, look, white ants, termites. So that's what I did, and like I said, I think in another video, I've got a full-time job, so the best I could do at the time was termites in the morning and termites when I got home from work, and that was enough. They fledged 3 young. 1 didn't pull through, hopping around the ground for a bit and disappeared. I think it perished. But the 2 that come through were hens, so I was thrilled. Suddenly I had 2 hens and 2 extra cockbirds. So I was able to farm out those hens and set up different pairs, and now I've got 2 solid pairs, and I'm fingers crossed, you know, January's coming up, so I'm going to have a better results this year. But I'm thrilled that I got to breed them, and the trick is termites. I mean, some people even said a lot of mealworms, you know, and you'll get your young up, but then I've had a lot of people say, even with the mealworms, you think you're having a win, and then right near the end they'll toss the chicks when they're so close. You know, like it's heartbreaking. They can be a real heartbreak finch. But once they've settled in, the trick is just keep them away from the wind, the rain, the elements, and keep them nice and warm. And you know, they'll give you a lot of pleasure. I had a lot of red cheek cordon-bleus. I got rid of them all because they don't mix well. There was fighting, and I don't want them crossing and that. So I had fun with the red cheek cordon-bleus. I bred heaps of them, and keeping them in their habits and everything is almost exactly the same as the blue caps. They're just a bit hardier, and but they're still a beautiful bird. Absolutely, a lot smaller. The blue cap dwarfs the red cheek cordon-bleu. It's quite a large bird. It's got quite a robust head. It's a beautiful bird. It's got quite a loud song, but otherwise sounds very much like cordon-bleu when it's in the red cheek cordon-bleus in its calls and its habits. I hope that helps. Like I said before, any comments, please add them. I'll get back to every comment. You know, or anything you want to add. You know, it's all about learning all about the blue caps, because I know in Australia especially, and I think all over the world, it's not an easy one to breed. You've really got to be committed and pull through with the goods, especially the live food, or you're dreaming. And if you breed them, congratulations, you've done a good job. And I just want to leave you with that, and like, share, subscribe. You know, the bigger the family, the better the results, I think. So thank you so much for sticking with me, and I'll catch up with you soon.